And welcome into episode number 4 of Sports Den. We're here for another loaded fall sports episode. We'll catch you up on all the Friday Night Lights action. We'll check in on the volleyball scene here around the Twin Cities, including one of the best teenage players in her age group playing right here in our backyard in the North Metro community. And we'll check in on another cat clash in the pool with some girls swimming action. All included in a busy episode of today's show. I'm Matt Dean, welcoming you into our studio here in Blaine, and excited to catch you up on all the action from around Centennial, Blaine, and Spring Lake Park High Schools on the latest episode of Sports Den. We had a lot of football action on Friday. Let's get right into it. Our marquee matchup was a big one between the last two 6A state champions in the state of Minnesota. Centennial hosting Maple Grove. The Crimson checking in at number 3 of this week's rankings. Their opening drive of the night, tip drill was on, and senior Ben Clausen in the end comes away with the interception. Cougars looking for an upset, and they start the night with a big takeaway on defense, batted around and eventually controlled by Clausen. So the Cougars start with a short field. They'd end it with a short run. From 2 yards away, junior fullback Caleb Melzer made it 7-0 Cougars after the extra point, and that was the score at the end of the first quarter after a couple of long drives. Crimson with one of the best running backs in the state, so nobody thought it was going to be a QB keeper. Caden Harney sneaks in from 2 yards out. The junior, it would be tied at 7-7 after the extra point. Lots of 3 yards and a cloud of dust plays from Centennial, but they hit some home runs too. Melzer busting off a 35-yard score to put the Cougars up a touchdown, 14-7 with 62 seconds left until halftime. At this point, Maple Grove, one of the most electric offenses, leading the state in scoring in 6A. They would have time to get down the field. Harney with a clean pocket, a lot of time, links up 45 yards downfield with senior Reggie Williams, and it sets up the Crimson in the red zone. Beautiful ball, the junior connecting with the senior, and Maple Grove would cash in as Harney would go through his progressions here. Defense made him work. He eventually finds his favorite target, Dylan Vogel, and a nice catch to tiptoe around the pylon by the NDSU commit, who found the end zone, a 8-yard score to tie it up at 14 before the break. After the Cougars turned it over on downs to start the half, it would be Maple Grove getting their first possession, and Harney on a scramble. He would get hit. The ball comes loose. Jostling it free was Evan Just. Landing on top of it, the senior defensive end, Aiden Evans, with the recovery. The Cougars, a recipe for an upset, turned the ball over twice with their defense taking it away. But the Cougars failed to capitalize on the ensuing drive, and then Chuck Flungama, the North Dakota commit, with a 21-yard touchdown run here. Maple Grove marches 77 yards down the field to take the lead for good, and number 3, Maple Grove, hangs on for the win.
But Centennial really made you earn every one of those yards tonight.
Sure, they did. They're a hard-nosed team. You know, you got to come in. You got to try to get every yard you can get, to be honest.
How important was this physical test, was it for you guys to come on the road and have to win a battle of wills?
I mean, it was their season opener, so they're going to come out hard. You know, they're always going to come out hard. They're pretty good, pretty strong up front, and they got some good linebackers. But you got to just hit the hole, move your feet, just keep moving, just keep working.
Yeah. No, yeah, just staying fundamentally sound. I mean, some of those drives get really long, but their whole goal of their offense is wait till we break. And in the end, we just can't break, got to stay sound. And we made some plays that stopped them in the end, and I think that helped us turn out with the win.
Do you think this was your toughest test of the season so far?
Definitely, yeah. I mean, Centennial, they're just a ground and pound team. They always give us our best. They drive it right down our throats. And I think it's a really good test to have this at the beginning of the season, get that physicality, know how to play against it, and it'll help us in the long run.
So the Cougars keep this one close in the matchup of the last two 6A state champions, and it was a good one. Tough loss for the Cougars on Friday night. At total yardage, you see a significant advantage for Maple Grove, but Centennial just did a tremendous job. They forced 2 turnovers, didn't cough up the football themselves. Centennial only 2 plays that went for 10 yards or more, but they played keep away, long churning drives to kind of keep the ball out of the hands of one of the best offenses in the state. Played some tough defense, but ultimately it's Maple Grove who comes away with a win, and of course the Crimson, who handed Centennial their only loss last season and that 12-1 campaign that saw the Cougars claim the 6A state title. So while the Cougars fell, Blaine were in action as well. Number 4 in the Class 6A ranks after that big win against Centennial last week. They traveled to Goodrich Field to take on Anoka. It was the Tornadoes who got out to the torrid start. Senior quarterback Peyton Pedani flips it off to fellow senior Afi Abikwe, who forced it to the 1, and then Anoka runs out of the I formation. Zach Welch gets crunched but scores 6-0 Anoka. Still in the first, a lot of speed on the edge. Abikwe, I'll do it my way. A 17-yard reception got Anoka back in the red zone, and this looks familiar. Welch, 6 yards this time, and Anoka padded the lead at the end of the first. So it wasn't done, and Anoka would continue to pile it on. Welch tripping off a 36-yard touchdown here before Blaine would get on the board. Sam Shaughnessy rolling out. Good footwork by Caden Lawagi, a 2-yard score. Got the Bengals on the board. It was 20-7. Carter Mackey lays down a big hit here. It forces the fumble. That's number 29, Kayvon Landers, on the bottom of the pile, recovering for Blaine. But Blaine unable to capitalize. Zach Welch, with his 4th touchdown of the game, scores again, this time through the air, and it was 27-7. In the third quarter, Shaughnessy, a leaping throw to Derek Schloman for 20-plus yards. Bengals unable to capitalize once more, and then Zach Larson brought down here after a 23-yard gain later in the half. Fourth quarter still, Shaughnessy, a great mobile quarterback. He'd rushed for at least 190 yards each of the first 2 weeks of the season. He was at negative yardage until this play, a 42-yard touchdown run, his second on the ground this year. But Anoka, it's too little too late, hangs on for the 27-14 win. So we mentioned a little bit at the end, Sam Shaughnessy, that tremendous dual threat quarterback for Blaine, really bottled up as he's held to just 37 yards on the ground. He'd gone off for almost 200, 190 plus in each of the first 2 weeks of the season. Peyton Pedani, a very talented quarterback in his own right. He's got a Division I offer from St. Thomas. He goes 17-29, throws for 123, a touchdown and a pick. Welch, the really impressive back for Anoka, 167 total yards from scrimmage, and he accounted for all 4 Anoka touchdowns on the night. The defense for Blaine forces a couple of turnovers, but that slow start was not enough as Anoka blitzes past Blaine to hand the 4th-ranked team in the state their first loss of the season, and they fall to 2-1. Our last Friday Night Lights action, Spring Lake Park looking to make it back-to-back wins as they traveled to Park Center to face their first section opponent of the year. Early first quarter, Panthers going to the air on 3rd and 8. Tyler Wilkinson links up with Kalen Truckenbrod, a 14-yard gain, moves the chains. Lamari Brown wrestles his way through from the 1, the junior's 5th of the season, 8-0 SLP after a 2-point conversion. Pirates with a nice return here, 18 yards from Ronald Brown, and PC would get the ball just outside of Panther territory to set up shop. Pirates quarterback Denero Fellows dumps it off to Josh Diggs about 15 yards to keep it moving for Park Center down the field. Then a bit later on this drive, a high snap over the head of Fellows. Pirates recover, but it turns a 2nd and 2 into a 3rd and 18. So Park Center punts, and how about a big-time play here by the Spring Lake Park special teams? An 87-yard return as Colin Welch makes something out of nothing. It would leap the Panthers out to a 14-0 lead with about 6.5 minutes left to go still before halftime. So a monster return for Welch and a big boost. Pirates going to hurry up. Tyjon Brooks with a nice pickup here for the Pirates as they tried to battle against the clock here and get on the board before halftime. With time winding down, Fellows taking a shot for the end zone. Panthers back 4 guys deep in prevent defense. This is Cade Skelly coming up with the pick. It would secure the 14-0 edge that the Panthers had going into the halftime locker room. Second half now, Wilkinson rolling out, looking for his favorite target. Truckenbrod hauls it in, the junior wideout, 2nd of the season, a 19-yard passing touchdown, 21-0 Spring Lake Park. In the 4th, E.J. Monluo would punch it in a short yardage situation, and if it wasn't already the deal sealed for Spring Lake Park, how about a little I Spy from Teddy Wackman? I spy an interception. He takes it 33 yards back to the house, 35-0 Spring Lake Park, and they would roll to the shutout victory. So back-to-back wins now for the Panthers, who ran 64 offensive plays in this game, 56 of them are running plays. 5 different Panthers account for touchdowns as Brown and Monluo led the way in the rushing attack, both with over 80-yard gains for the Panthers. 223 yards on the ground. That, believe it or not, lowers the Panthers' yards per game average to 256 per game, which is 4th best in the state in Class 5A, trailing only Elk River, Robbinsdale, Armstrong, and Bemidji in the state. Panthers improved to 2-1, and the first-team defense has not given up any points in the last 2 games. Taking a look at the standings, we'll start in Class 6A with the Metro North. Maple Grove are now the presumptive #1 ranked team in the state as we speak before the rankings have been released this week, but #1 Edina lost to 4th-ranked Tonka on Thursday night, so Maple Grove stand atop the division as one of 4 remaining unbeatens out of 32 Class 6A teams in the state. Anoka knocks off the 4th-ranked Bengals to go to 2-1. Blaine also have beaten STMA this year, so those 3 teams kind of jockeying around for second as Centennial fall to 1 and 2. In Section 6 in 5A, also referred to as the North Star West Maroon Division, Rogers thumped Irondale 31-7 on Friday night. Monticello beating Sauk Rapids 29-0. The Magic are the only team that you see have not played a conference opponent yet this year. So Spring Lake Park out to a good start with that conference/section win against Park Center. Here's what's coming up for all our area teams this week. Blaine will host 1-2 Osseo on Friday night. The Orioles coming off a 40-0 drubbing against Champlin Park on Friday. Centennial coming off arguably their toughest stretch of the season. Back-to-back teams that checked in the top 10 in last week's rankings. They've got 2-1 STMA on the docket and a nice stretch in the midst of 4 of 5 that the Cougars will play in Circle Pines. Spring Lake Park, arguably the biggest game of the week as they take on 2-1 Rogers. Both teams took really ugly defeats to Moorhead earlier this season. Rogers beat Spring Lake Park 26-13 last year. They're the 3-time reigning section champions, beat Spring Lake Park in a section final a couple of years ago, and that'll be a big measuring stick between 2 2-1 teams and arguably the favorites in that section that we were showing you, Section 6, coming up this week. So a lot going on in high school football. Another busy Friday coming up this week. As that slate continues, we're going to move our attention over to the volleyball court, where we know Minnesota, it has got some of the best girls volleyball talent in the entire country. You've got juggernauts like Wayzata, who are the 4-time state champions defending. They've already lost 3 games this season. Champlin Park, just around the corner from us here in this area, they're #2 in the state. Centennial, not in the rankings right now, but they've got one of the best players in the state, Elena Hakey, and she was in action with the Cougars on Monday night, taking on Anoka. Out to a 3-0 undefeated start. The Cougars 3-2 through their first 5 matches of the season. Midway through the first, how about Addie Kemper with the lambasted shot down? It was 23-20 later in the set. A quick set to Ivy Manning down the middle. Tornadoes back within 2. Set point for the Cougars. A joust from the outside pin. Emma Peterson leading the tandem block for Centennial. The Cougars go up 1-0 in the best of 5. Second set, left side, strong side. That's Aubrey Workala lambasting one, and Centennial trailing at 12-7. Anoka would respond. Hayden Reeder with a back row attack makes it set point for the Tornadoes. And Reeder, after rotating up to the front row, the junior would finish it off for Anoka, tying up the match 1 set apiece. Tornadoes building a 4-point lead to start the third. Centennial says, all right, you got a lead. We've got a Hakey. Elena Hakey, the Gopher commit, laying that one down. Anoka would take the set, however, another set clincher by the pesky Hayden Reeder, 2-1 Tornadoes in the match. On to the fourth, 7-5 Centennial, make it 7-6 after Elena Wilbert finishes the play. Centennial would take a 24-19 lead. Hey, run that play where we score. Give it to Elena Hakey. That's a cheat code. It's tied at 2, and just like they say, well, let's play 5. Playing to 15 here in a decisive 5th. Reeder was pretty good for Anoka in this one. Little teardrop shot lands in. Anoka would be in front by 2 later in the set. Sometimes you just got to get it over and let the other team make a mistake. That happens, and the Cougars now going for match point. Free ball potentially coming back over. What did we say? Let the other team mess it up. Anoka does. Centennial wins. They go to 5 sets for the first time all season and come away with the win, which at the time improved them to 4-2 on Monday. How about that stat line from Elena Hakey? She's the top-rated player in her class, still just a junior. 17 kills. That was the 6th consecutive match for the Minnesota Golden Gopher commit, where she reached double-digit kills to open the season. After action the rest of the week, Hakey's got 137 on the season to lead Centennial, averaging 3.6 per set. And the Cougars, with that really impressive win, going the full 5 with Anoka, who it was the other team right now sitting potentially for the top spot in the section. Blaine were swept in their 2 matches last week. They're 1-4 to start the year. They continue play tonight as they travel to Maple Grove in a Northwest Suburban Conference matchup here in this Monday. Centennial, after that win at Anoka, were swept by Roseville, the 10th-ranked team in the state, on Tuesday. They went 2-3 over the weekend in tournament play. 3 of their next 4 are at home, including returning home to take on Osseo tonight. Spring Lake Park losses against Mounds View and Totino Grace in their only 2 best-of-5s. They did snap out of an 0-for-6 start to begin the season by going 2-2 over the weekend in the Farmington Invite, so they are 2-7 as they host 2-6 Park Center in a game you can watch on North Metro TV, and check it out on northmetrotv.com tonight as they host the Pirates of Park Center. All right, so our last segment to close out the show, we have got a cat clash in the pool. We took you into the Blaine Centennial rivalry last week. It was Blaine hosting Spring Lake Park, as we'll take you out to the pool here for this meow matchup to close the show, and a fun one going on Thursday at Northdale Middle School. That's the site, the Blaine Bengals home pool in this one. 200-yard medley relay to start the night. Blaine would establish the home court, outpacing the competition with the win. In the 200-yard free, Cora Roseboro of SLP glides to the win in that event. The 200 intermediate medley, Sydney Hernandez of Blaine will eke ahead of the competition for the victory in that one. And it was on to the sprint in the 50-yard free, where the Bengals would sweep the podium in this one. Reese Forrest was the one who came out on top, but all Bengals in the 1, 2, and 3 spots. Onto the 1-meter diving break. This was Erin Rippey of Spring Lake Park. The inward dive with a tuck. Sydney Bush would follow her for Blaine with an impressive back dive. We got a second look at it on the super slow-mo on the replay. Great stuff from the Blaine Bengal. Alea Feet of SLP would follow in the competition. All the divers had 5 attempts. Katie Thill did not win the meet in the diving event, but a 36.8. She came awfully close, and one of her better performances of the season. She was fired up. It was Rotzenberg who had the best dive of the day, a forward somersault with 2 twists there. On to the 100-yard butterfly, Gabby Bush holds off Macy Severud to win it for Blaine in that event. In the 100-yard free, which followed, Reese Forrest with her second win of the day. We saw her take the 50. She would also take the 100 both in the freestyle. 500-yard freestyle, an endurance test. Sydney Edwards had the fortitude to take it for Blaine. And then in the 200-yard free relay, this was Leighton who anchored the Blaine team to victory in that one. 100-yard backstroke, Alexis Edwards nudging out in front for Blaine would take the victory with 2 events left to go here on the evening. It was Anna Milshow who had snapped a consecutive streak of 5 straight Blaine victories, taking that one for Spring Lake Park. In the 400-yard free relay, Blaine would cruise in this one. They'd win the meet going 98-83 in the Bengals' favor.
Obviously, I go to practice every day. We all work hard. You know, I try and connect with all the other divers because some of them are new just this week, and they've all been getting way better than last year, and they are performing really good. And I think we all went out and did our best today, and I think we all did very well.
Alice, what does it mean to you when you're setting that example for some of those younger girls? You said some of them just starting this week. How do you be that leader like you are?
I think this year I've had to really step it up with being a leader because I'm used to being one of the younger ones, but now I'm the oldest on the dive team. And I think I just have been trying to keep everyone more positive and trying to help everyone through mental blocks and practice and stuff. And I've been trying to make it more fun for everybody. And I think everyone's also been more positive and have been having fun instead of making it a stressful environment. It's a very fun environment instead.
So first I did freestyle in the the medley relay, the 200 IM, the 100 back, and the 4 free relay. So those are my normal events, but our coach likes to mix it up, so I got to try something new today.
Yeah. And your coach was telling me that you also have an invitational on Saturday. Was that looming in your head as you were trying to compete today?
Yeah, this week we had a mini hell week, as he likes to call it, so it's been harder practices, and a lot of us are exhausted, but we swim different events then, so I'm not as worried about that.
I got my personal best. It was really exciting because I'd been working really hard lately, and I had just came from an injury. I had to sit out for 2 days, so I only got to practice for tomorrow, and it was really fun to see, like, even though I'm injured, I can still do my personal best, and it was just really exciting to do.
Yeah. And imagine if you were 100%, what some of these scores could even have been. So that's going to be fun throughout the year.
Yeah.
But Katie, when you're up there on the board, how do you prepare yourself to dive into the water? What are you thinking about?
Usually I get up there, I shake all my nerves off, and then I close my eyes, take a deep breath, and I visualize what I'm going to do before I go into the water. And then I just go and do it. I really do that jump, and then I do the dive just like my coaches taught me.
So I had the 50 free today, the 100 free, the 2 free relay, and the 4 free relay.
And of course, you talk about having some individual, some relays. Can you talk about maybe what the difference is really to you when you have to point those out? Besides the obvious, of course, you're with teammates.
Yeah. Individual, it's more like a self race, and you feel like you have to do good for yourself. And then relays, you feel like you have to do good for the whole team, so it's very exciting. Yeah.
All right, taking a look at our upcoming coverage that we have on North Metro TV. Hey, tonight we're going to have some Spring Lake Park volleyball as they take on Park Center, a couple of 2-win teams. Spring Lake Park won a couple of matches in tournament play over the weekend in Farmington. They'll go for their first best-of-5 victory tonight in a Park Center team that Spring Lake Park were able to top last season. We've got prep football. Our featured game on Friday will be the Blaine Bengals hosting the Osseo Orioles. Blaine licking their wounds off of their first loss of the season. They had risen to number 4 in last week's 6A rankings. They will take on a struggling Orioles team out to a 1-2 start to the season. Malik Mitchell is on the call for that one with Truck Shoot on Friday right here on North Metro TV. And then we got some soccer. How about 3 consecutive meow matchups, cat clashes, whatever you prefer, boys and girls doubleheaders, which will start Saturday as Blaine hosts Spring Lake Park. Blaine and Centennial renew their rivalry next week on Tuesday in a boys-girls doubleheader. Centennial, Spring Lake Park. Anytime we got our North Metro TV schools matching up, we're doing our best to get out there. Andover SLP should be a good one in Class 5A coming up next week on the Gridiron. So Matt Dean again signing out. This will just about do it for us. Thanks to Tim Shingen, our director here this evening, Ted LaRue and A.V. Becker for making things happen here in studio in Blaine. We got tons of action coming up. Friday football, some soccer. We'll break it all down on next week's episode of the show right here on Sports Den.